We are wrapping up our month of content and talking about short form video. Video is critical and a really important element to our marketing and building trust and engaging with our audiences and showcasing who we are and what we do well. And I'm excited to kind of bring it back full circle. We started the month talking about repurposing, and this is going to be a deep dive into using video to repurpose the content that we have and create information for our audiences to engage with. Now, this is something that's important for all audiences, but especially as we're trying to engage younger audiences and get them more involved in our cause and engaged with the things that we're doing in our communities. So, to talk to us about this awesome topic is Ben Hendricks. Ben is a video editor with 12 years of production experience in a variety of industries. Ben's current focus is on creating short-form videos for social media platforms. He works with personal brands and consultants, helping them effectively communicate their message through video. Throughout his career, Ben has developed a reputation for his creativity, technical expertise, and ability to work collaboratively with clients to achieve their goals. Outside of video, Ben is an accomplished musician, songwriter, and has traveled the world playing guitar in alternative rock bands. He lives in Akron, Ohio, with his wife and 2 Australian shepherds. You're going to hear a lot of tips, a lot of ideas. You might feel a little bit overwhelmed, but it's okay. You can get started with short form video really easily without a lot of tools, without a major photography or videography background. But the point is to just get started. And Ben's going to give you some things to think about and ways to tackle short form content so you can get in front of new audiences and stay engaged with your existing one. So you do not need to be on TikTok in order to take advantage of short form content. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. But before we get into it, it is brought to you by our digital marketing therapy workshops. Our next one coming up in June is all about creating your content strategy and really getting started with executing it. Whether you're revamping your existing strategy or starting from scratch, this 2-day workshop will walk you through all of the strategies that you need to have a great content marketing strategy. So if you've loved the episodes that you've heard over this month and you really want to take advantage and make this a priority for you, join me in June for these workshops. You can find more information at thefirstclick.net/workshops. Space is extremely limited because we want to work with you in a small setting to ensure that you get the dedicated help that you need to make this happen. So again, thefirstclick.net/workshops. I can't wait to see you there. Let's get into the episode. You're listening to the Digital Marketing Therapy Podcast. I'm your host, Sammy Bedell-Mulhern. Each month, we dive deep into a digital marketing or fundraising strategy that you can implement in your organization. Each week, you'll hear from guest experts, nonprofits, and myself on best practices, tips, and resources to help you raise more money online and reach your organizational goals. Hey there. I'd love to welcome my guest for today, Ben Hendricks. Ben, thanks for being here today.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
So you're helping us wrap up our whole month on content creation, and I'm super excited about this topic because we haven't really talked about it on this podcast before. But we're talking kind of short form video content that can be used everywhere and created from content you already have. So before we kind of jump into some strategies, why is video and video content something you're passionate about?
I love the storytelling aspect of it. I mean, every piece of content kind of tells a story, helps you learn something. I've been editing video for 15 years, kind of doing lots of different things, lots of different formats. And it always comes down to telling a story of some kind, even if it's a minute long, even if it's 30 seconds. I love the craft of it. There's a component that's kind of like puzzle piecing, finding elements that fit together as a whole. So, I've found that there's a lot you can learn from video, there's just so many good stories that it's important to tell in whatever way that you tell them.
Yeah. Well, in short form content, for people that don't know, could you maybe explain what that is and kind of why it's risen in popularity a lot over the last few years?
Sure. I mean, short form video is just the 30 to 90 second videos you see on social media in the vertical form, as opposed to horizontal. That's kind of YouTube. Vertical is what you see on TikTok and Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts. And it's really become popular because it's the most direct way to communicate with an audience, and anyone can do it. You can just record on your phone and upload it to these social media platforms, and it's easy. So you're able to, speak directly to your audience. I also think people kind of tired of the more formal corporate style of video, and these just feel more authentic, and you get to see a person's personality more.
Yeah. So, like short form content, you said 30 to 60 seconds. But you really only have still, even with that, like a few seconds to grab people's attention. So you talked about like storytelling and how you love that video tells the story. Like, how might we want to think about coming up with content and like how we kind of organize the information that we're sharing?
I think that the first thing that I think of whenever I make something is, why would people care about this? So really just figuring out why someone would want to watch something, because you do have 2 or 3 seconds to catch people's attention. They're just going to be scrolling. So just putting yourself in the mind of someone else and figuring out what someone would care about. I mean, the one of the key words is empathy. Just kind of putting yourself in someone else's perspective, and then figuring out, how to build a video around that. Because the content of the video itself can be amazing, but if you don't catch their attention and lead with something that's powerful, then they're not going to, watch the rest of the video.
Mm-hmm.
So getting them right off the bat is also crucial. So it's important to figure out what your hooks are going to be, because the hooks are what keep people there.
Yeah. Well, and so how, because I feel like when it comes to Reels or TikTok or whatever, how, are there some ways that people can create video? Because I think for a lot of them, they're like, well, I don't want to be on camera, or we don't want to, have to be like talking direct to camera. That makes them nervous. And sometimes getting started with just graphics and things is easier. So are there kind of like different categories or different ways that we can approach kind of coming up with our short form content to get our message across without having that fear of having our face in front of everybody?
Sure. I mean, video is anything that has some sort of motion. It could be as simple as putting images to music, or you could, maybe record your voiceover, put that with some images or B-roll. There's another format called audiogram, which is just kind of the audio, kind of with a waveform, showing a visualization of the person talking, and then putting captions in there. Or you can do things like photos with a slideshow, that sort of thing. And there's lots of ways that you can do that now. There's lots of free sites that you can use to get started on that. And also, I don't know how much you've delved into this, but AI is making this a lot easier with a lot of tools that are coming out now to do this sort of thing. I mean, especially with things like voiceovers and any sort of visualization.
Yeah.
It's there are ways to make videos where you don't even have to be in it. There's also sort of a AI talking head that you can kind of create and generate in that sort of way. A lot of people I know it's kind of a polarizing topic, but there are ways around being in the video yourself.
Well, okay, so let's talk about tools real quick, because we have talked about AI this month a little bit as with regards to like text copy and like how to create content ideas and how to maybe like create your drafts or outlines for your blog. But we didn't talk about AI for graphics and things like that. So like, what are some of your favorite AI tools for video, and what are some of your favorite kind of editing or tools that people can also use to create? Because I think it's way easier than people have in their heads that it is.
Yeah, Synthesia is a great one for generating a talking head. I also like Runway. It's really more of like background effects. You can kind of take out your background and put some other green screen elements in. There's lots of they're more so enhancing, like,
Mm-hmm.
cleaning up audio. Like Adobe has a great software that where you can clean up your audio and make it sound as polished as possible. For graphics, there's obviously the photo generations like Midjourney, and Dolly, where you kind of text to image, where you can kind of just type in whatever you want and it'll generate it. Um, but yeah, a lot of these video ones, like they're not going to be able to do the storytelling aspect, but there are definitely things that make the process easier.
Yeah. I know it's a little bit trickier too, but with Canva Pro, since nonprofits have access to that for free, there is some AI image stuff you can do in there. It's a little scary sometimes. But then there is also some video editing, but you can also just edit natively in the app that you're going to publish your content to, right?
Yeah, you can do that. I know TikTok has their own app called CapCut, that makes editing pretty easy, pretty straightforward. And Canva is a great tool if you're a beginner too. Um, to be honest, I mean, I'm loosely familiar with those because I use like the professional
Sure.
stuff I've been using for a long time, like Adobe
Yeah.
Premiere, and After Effects. But there are so many great tools now that make it easy to do basic video editing. Storyblocks is another one that is like a free, like, or not a free, but it's a paid service for stock footage, stock images, stock video, and sound effects and music. They have their own built-in editor too, so you can kind of put all those elements together inside their platform. But yeah, Canva is a great one too, if you're looking to just get started. And
Yeah. Well, let's talk about repurposing our existing content and turning it into short form, because I don't think we have to come up with new ideas. I think it's just about sharing stuff we already have. So, one of the things that I wanted to ask you about was a lot of times we create these videos for our galas or we'll create like a longer form promotional video. Do you have any tips for how, we can kind of cut that up? Is there ways to approach maybe some of like the creation of that long form content in like knowing that we are going to chunk it up? Like, is that something we should talk to our editor about ahead of time? Like, how can we kind of make that process easier?
yeah, I mean, being aware of what you're going to be doing with a long form is definitely helpful, because you can kind of um, edit on the go, or just sort of in your mind, kind of knowing where things might come out, and being aware of it while you're creating that, so you can kind of be like, oh, that's a good spot. Just kind of make a mental note of things. um, yeah, when you get all that stuff out, it's really just finding what points in that long form content will stick out. It's finding the right quotes, the right sound bites, that will stand on its own. Because the important thing with repurposing stuff is understanding context. Most people watching a short form video don't have the full context of the full conversation or full long form thing. So it's important to keep a piece of that in each piece of content. So it's just establishing context is key to repurposing things, because you have to assume a person watching it isn't going to know exactly what the whole conversation was. All they're going to see is the 30 to 60-second video that comes out on their feed.
No, I think that's a really good point. Yeah, because sometimes you need people to understand something in order to get the impact of that video. And then I think you already mentioned on a couple of these things, but if we have written content, creating video around it, some of the things like you talked about, like having a talking head or even just an audiogram, like having somebody record it. But there's it's super easy to just kind of repurpose that as a way to kind of engage with your audience in a different way also.
Sure. I mean, even text on a screen is
Yeah.
better than nothing. I mean, music is so important. It's kind of underrated, but music really drives um, any sort of piece of video. It kind of carries the emotion of the thing. So even if you just have text popping on screen with a music background track, that will keep people more engaged than if they were just reading something. Because people are drawn to the music in some way, they're going to keep watching just
Hmm.
subconsciously, even just for a little bit. So, yeah, any sort of visual element that includes an audio element, um, that's the way to do it.
Well, and how important is video especially when it comes to if you're targeting a younger audience, right? Like that's almost like if you're trying to hit millennials and Gen Z, like would you say video is a must in your
I
marketing?
say, yeah, you have to have video for that generation. That's just how they consume um, media. It's very native to them, and they're the younger generation, they don't like BS. They want it straight. They want authenticity. They don't want to be sold something necessarily. They just want something that's real. And video is the way to express that the best. Because they can see the face, they can see the voice, they can see the personality. Um, a lot of videos that do really well don't necessarily have anything to do with what it is you're selling. That's what it's just about building trust, basically. So once they trust you, then you'll be able to maybe you know get more branding in there. But video really just helps build trust, especially with the younger generation, who that's what they're really looking for.
Yeah, I have younger Gen Z children, and I remember when uh, I think when they first got their phones and the power went out or the Wi-Fi went out or something. Anyway, she couldn't FaceTime her friends. It wasn't working, and I was like, "Well, then just call them." And she's like, how do you make a phone call? Like she only like I literally had to walk her through she's like, I didn't even know you could do that because everything, even in their just day-to-day communication, is FaceTime. They're always on video or they're doing video snap. Like everything is video. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'm glad that you kind of hit on that as well. Um, and I
so the
think that
reality is,
it is, it is the reality. And I think too, like to your point, um, creating fun videos and having personality with it, like everything doesn't have to be so polished and professional. People are engaging more with kind of the silly, like your personality, like just having fun and showcasing and sharing the impact that your organization makes versus having a polished here at organization X, we do, like make it fun and kind of live it up a bit.
yeah. It's definitely good to experiment and find your voice,
Hmm.
and that can be different than um, you know what your brand is uh, as a whole. But finding a way to communicate online is different than finding a way to communicate in other ways. So it's really just finding what works, trying stuff out, seeing what types of videos do better on following the metrics of how things are performing, based on the way that it is. So it's a lot of trial and error, but just doing it is the most important thing,
Hmm.
and just getting out there, and finding your voice over time. I mean, it's not you're not gonna make one video and have it you know give you everything that you ever wanted. It's a process, and but it's a fun process to find what works
Right.
and to be creative and tell your story.
Well, I'm sure as a videographer, as an editor, as a creator, I'm sure you've been asked several times by clients, well, can you create a viral video for me? And I mean, like, I'm sure I shouldn't speak for you, but creating viral content intentionally is almost more inauthentic than just creating content that's telling your story correctly that then happens to go viral, right?
Yeah. I mean, you never know what's going to hit. I tell people the three main tenets are entertain, educate, and inspire.
Hmm.
Um, those are the things that are the ingredients to virality. If you can do more of the more than one of those things in a video, then that gives you a better chance. So there are ways to create things with those things in mind that are the ingredients to creating virality, but you can't force it. It's just a thing that happens. There are ways to get in front of more views with like paid ads or boosting posts, and that definitely helps. It helps get in front of more people. But to go like viral, like millions, that's just sort of a natural thing that just like that touches a nerve and goes from there. But there are ways. It's all about just giving yourself the best chance. So give yourself the chance to go viral, and then maybe you will.
Yeah. Well, and then, if you're nervous about creating short form content, or you think that your platform doesn't have it, like all of the platforms have an algorithm that favors video content, right? Regardless, like whether it's Reels or TikTok or YouTube or even Pinterest. Like, I mean, the opportunity to reuse that content is gotten even more widespread, making it more of a not cost savings, but making more of your investment makes sense because you can put it everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, all these platforms are really ramping up their video presence. I mean, TikTok took off, and now YouTube Shorts is doing something similar,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really favorable to creators because it pushes you in front of your target audience. With the use of hashtags, or it finds its audience based on its natural algorithm. So it's important to be everywhere. You can make a video for one platform, but put it on all the platforms. You don't know. Different platforms have different reaches, different audiences that might hit at different times. So it's just getting out there and making something that you're going to be proud of, and hoping it finds its viewership.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I guess if you were going to give like 3 tips on how to just get started with short form content, like where should people kind of start their planning process so that they can kind of add this into their content mix?
I mean, it's easy to just say just start recording, but I
Yeah.
know there's a lot more planning that goes into it. Coming up with a couple scripts, kind of just getting a general idea of what you want to touch on. I'd say come up with a couple scripts and record in one sitting. You don't have to record a video every day. You can do it. I do batch editing, so you record just take an hour, come up with a couple of key points you want to touch on, record it, and then go back and cut those up into different pieces of video. So you're kind of repurposing your own stuff. I tell people that a daily presence is good for growing a platform, but I'd say minimum 2 to 3 a week just to get the ball rolling.
Video specific pieces of content or just content in general?
Video specific
Yeah.
people
Okay.
for a video strategy. If you're really trying to grow a platform that way, there are definitely tools to make coming up with ideas easier. I mean, just go on ChatGPT and give me 5 video prompts that I can talk about in my niche. And that's the best way to start, is to just get some ideas, start recording, and put them up, and you'll get better at it over time, and you'll get a sense of what works and what doesn't. But the key is just get started.
Yeah. I think too, like, because if you're nervous about creating the video, even like I know for me with my kids, we've been looking for volunteer opportunities for them and ways to get more engaged. Reach out to your volunteers that have kids that are teenagers or in high school, and, maybe they might have to do a service project or something, and giving them just the ideas and having them go and create the video content is a great use of their efforts because it's so easy and natural for them. That would be my pro tip.
Yeah. People
Yep.
love kids.
Well, until you really develop your strategy, like let them create the content for you and test it, for sure. But I just think it's important too to touch on just the shareability of video. Like people are much more likely to share video content with each other too than like your image posts and things like that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's like it's the best way to connect with people because it just lends itself to more creativity and more it's just a better way to communicate.
Yeah,
because you can get all the info in a short amount of time. It doesn't take too long to consume. Right away whether you like something or not.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and I would say too, like when you're think about your own behavior when you're scrolling either TikTok or Reels or whatever. Like, what are you passing on? What are you, and not like maybe not the topic, but like, sometimes you scroll past something because it takes them too long to get to the point, or you scroll past because they didn't have captions and you're not listening, or they, like start to pay attention to those reasons why you're skipping content and why you're consuming it to kind of help you really figure out how you want to craft your brand story.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many elements that help enhance to make people can just put a video online, but the editing that really helps polish things up and makes things pop. So things that you probably wouldn't even notice, but like a lot of videos start with a zoom as they go into their hook. Adding in other visual elements like pop-up graphics or sound effects or B-roll or music is another thing that is important to have in any sort of video. So there's lots of elements that help make your video stand out because, I mean, it's important to be authentic and, just have something out, but it's also after you do the basics, what's going to help you stand out. And really it's the post-production sort of editing that kind of helps enhance all that.
I love it. Any other last kind of quick tips or advice that you'd love to kind of wrap this up with?
I'd say, I mean, I think it's important to know the power of video. I mean, especially how far it's come along. 10 years ago, it used to be, nice to have. People didn't really consider it, but now in today's landscape, like you need it. It's a necessary thing, which is crazy because how my video journey has been from what I was working on 10 years ago to now, where it's like it's so in demand. It's a crucial part of every business's plan.
I love that. Before we kind of let people know how to find you, could you repeat again the 3 elements that you said are important to consider when kind of putting your content and your scripts together?
Educate, entertain, and inspire.
Okay, awesome. I just wanted people to hear that one more time. Ben, this is awesome. I think that hopefully everybody's inspired to add video to their repertoire now. But if people want to connect with you more and learn more from you, how can they do that?
My website is www.newenergymedia.org. And you can find me on all the handles, New Energy Media.
I love that. Well, we will link all of that up in the show notes as well as some of the tools that Ben shared. You can find that at thefirstclick.net/206. But Ben, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was a blast.
So, are you excited to jump into short form content? I really hope so. It can be really helpful in, again, getting new eyeballs on your stuff. And engage with the younger audience, which we know is critical. I know a lot of us are not really worried about reaching millennials and Gen Z yet, but it is an untapped resource in a generation that we want to make sure we're engaging with today. So I hope that you will subscribe wherever you listen. Grab the show notes for all of the resources and tools at thefirstclick.net/206. All the ways to connect with Ben will also be listed there as well. Search for us on YouTube if you want to check out the video versions of these episodes. And I just thank you for being a listener and for letting me spend some time with you each and every week. For now, I'll see you in the next one.